19th October 2024, we are going to discuss editorials from several newspapers: The Hindu, Business Standard, The Pioneer, Live Mint, and today we are going to discuss one fresh article from FinShot also. First article here: Nuclear energy. Why we want to go again to nuclear energy? Recently, in 2024 budget, Finance Minister of India presented small and modular reactors in order to cater future energy demands. There is a growing energy need across the country. India is going towards developed country path, and the need of energy is very important. We cannot meet energy from fossil fuel sources. That's why we need to enhance our energy mix, and we need to look for alternative sources. Nuclear energy, though there are certain disadvantages are there, but nuclear energy is a great again. Small and modular reactor has been initiated, but today present area is digital area and digital arena also. Artificial intelligence, cloud services by many of the global companies, most of the multinational companies, MNCs, they also require a huge amount of energy in order to carry out day-to-day data processing activity, in order to do this digital activity on real-time basis. There is a huge need of energy. In this area, nuclear energy can play a great role again. Yes. So, digital giants, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they all are exploring for the use of nuclear energy. If you see nuclear power, this has been used under these cloud services for many years, even many decades also. And this may come back again because now there is a huge focus on artificial intelligence and again cryptocurrencies, machine learning. These big technologies require huge amount of energy, and nuclear energy can again play a greater role. Google, multinational company, they have partnered with Kairos Power in order to source energy from small nuclear plants in order to drive its artificial intelligence data centers. Not only Google, if you see Microsoft, they have deal with constellation of energy use from 3 Mile Island plant. This is one of the major nuclear accident where it has been taken place. Not only Microsoft and Google, Amazon also going in the similar path. They are going to invest in small and modular reactors in order to meet future energy demands. This kind of sophisticated manipulation of energy, this is linked to civilizations. Basically, Egyptians, they used water wheels, even hydraulic system in order to build their pyramids. You might have seen in Egypt. So pyramid in present area, in order to build them, you have crane and many other heavy lifting equipments. At the time, they just used water wheels and hydraulic machines. Even at the age of enlightenment, we have driven by steam. Basically, this is the area when industrial revolution happened in the enlightenment arena. Even electricity, when it came into being, this improved our productive hours of the day, and it enabled many innovations like telegraph also. Power demand, it has grown up with growing economic growth. Even artificial intelligence also promises a push for global economy into upcycle. These kind of activities require massive amount of power. For data centers, they are the life and blood of the present economic growth. Cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrencies basically they are obtained through mining process. Basically, you will be having high source computers. Those kind of computers, they require huge amount of energy. So in this area also, energy need is very huge. We are facing lot of issues today. Climate change, because climate change, there is a huge growth of carbon footprints that makes thermal power plants very unattractive. If you use thermal power plants with coal as a feed to make electricity, then it will produce a lot of thermal emissions, which is carbon dioxide, and it again increases climate change issues, even global warming, greenhouse gas effect also. There is therefore huge interest in the nuclear energy. This gives advantage of thermal power even without further insisting on carbon footprint. If you see, there are another resources are there which we can go. For example, renewable energy resources, basically solar, wind energy, water energy. Though we can utilize them, they are intermittent sources. They require large amount of storage solutions, and they will be location specific basically. So in order to evacuate from their remote location, for example water energy, basically in ocean area, because of the tides and all, you will be producing electricity, that is called tidal energy. So they will be located at ocean area. From ocean to, suppose say California, you want to bring that much of distance, then it will become very tough, right? Geothermal and tidal energy, they are location specific, whereas green hydrogen energy, though it is promising, it is very expensive because lot amount of storage mechanisms are required. Though thermal energy is very reliable and 24 by 7 source, but it pollutes a lot. It produces coal, gas, biogas and naphtha, and it uses them also. Therefore, nuclear energy is a cleaner version of thermal fuel. Normal thermal power plant, what they will do, they burn the coal, they will heat the water, they produce the steam, and then they run the turbine. Turbine produces electricity. In normal thermal power plant, they have big carbon footprint. Nuclear power plants, they reduce radiation, but they are zero carbon emissions. If nuclear energy is very efficient, because there is a tiny amount of material you will be using, that is called fissile material, that will generate lot amount of power. Basically, if you prevent radiations from nuclear energy, you have this cheap and clean long-term source of reliable 24 by 7 from renewable energy, nuclear energy. Naturally, this 24 by 7 and stable reliable power, that is very interested, and it is required by many of the data centers which are going for hyperscale, even cloud service provider also. But there are some issues with nuclear energy also. If this spent fuel, suppose say fissile material, iridium, radium, these things will be using in the nuclear technology. So this spent fuel, whatever you have used, after some time you need to dispose it off, or you can be reprocessing. Reprocessing of that spent fuel can be dangerous for centuries also, because these things can be used for making weapons, and then it will become weapon grade fuel, and it is very dangerous because if it falls into some big gangs, and then it will pose a great security threat, and then it will threat our unity, sovereignty and integrity of the nation. The same you can consider what happened in countries such as Iraq, Syria and Iran also. Yes, there are certain disadvantages are there. Eventually, nuclear plant needs to be shut down. The vast expense, this is tricky from shielding aspect. And using this nuclear power is a cheap, it is to generate, but we have to understand how we need to dispose and all those things. There are several accidents involved with nuclear energy. There was Chernobyl incident in 1986 that was very worst. 900 square kilometer of area have been evacuated. In 2011 in Japan, Fukushima disaster, it was triggered by tsunami. Even a 3 mile island, this incident, because the meltdown of this TMI unit 2. Now recently Microsoft asked this constellation to reopen this TIMI unit 1 because it has run safely for almost decades. Germany, they have shut down their nuclear plant after Fukushima and Japan cutback. France is also major European economy. They are still using nuclear power at scale. Even reprocessing fuel also. Nuclear design, it has been improved a lot because of these three incidents. But accident is always non-zero probability at any power plant. Even if you see any chemical plant also, accident is always a possibility. Adapting nuclear energy involves offsetting this low probability of accident. Even we need to understand how to generate this cheap clean power for many decades, and we need to develop the standard operating procedures, and we need to understand the intricacies. This kind of calculation will yield a greater result in which humanity can be benefit. The present technologies, artificial intelligence, Bitcoin technology, machine learning, they are going to increase their scales, and in order to improve them again, nuclear energy can play a greater role. So this is the article about. Next article we are discussing about India's greatest corporate leaders. Recently, Ratan Tata, he has been no more with us, and basically this article talks about Ratan Tata's contribution and what he had made in the corporate sector. Most of the time, we'll discuss about Gandhian values, trusteeship model, wherein many company that comes into business model, they have to understand the society also. Then we have huge term called corporate social responsibility. From Ratan Tata point of view, you can consider many other aspects: corporate social responsibility, Gandhian trusteeship model, even a lot of ethical values also. This article has been discussed in beautiful manner. We'll discuss this article in detail. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in 2008 and 9, there was a great depression that happened in United States, and it had ripple effect all over the world, and India had also bear to brunt that kind of situation. Manmohan Singh in 2008 and 9, he held a meeting with captains of industry. All the big names were there. Today, if you can see, Ambani's and many other people, even Ratan Tata was also present among them. So he was invited. Even author, though who is writing the article, he was also invited. He turned to Ratan Tata, he smiled at him, and then he was revenue. There were several secretaries, corporate secretary, revenue secretary, many other people were there. So basically, the main purpose of the meeting by former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was to understand what kind of impact it can cause on the society, and then understand how they can bail out the people from industry sector. So many suggestions, they were integrated, and it came as a stimulus package. Basically, government announced stimulus package so that people can be benefited. After that, India, with these suggestions by many of the corporate leaders, including Ratan Tata, India escaped worst crisis. Even India recovered fastest among major economies. Even after Ratan Tata called Arthur and his wife at Tata guest house. Then the author went, they had some food and something like that. And then, see, basically, the author talks about how Ratan Tata was so famous, like how he had grown up, from Tata administrative members to today's chairman emeritus. That kind of status, it's not easy to come unless you work hard. If you see in 2017, basically, there were several instances where they had discussion, and then author talks about Ratan Tata's values. Wherever Ratan Tata goes, he always cares about people, he always understands them in better manner. Ratan Tata was very fond of dogs, basically stray dogs. It doesn't matter whether you are raising them or they are the just in the outside as a stray dogs. He has that always compassion towards those dogs, and then he always provided. There was one instance wherein Ratan Tata was driving towards Bombay House. Stray dog followed him till that house. So you can understand the huge connection between human and animal, and Ratan Tata's compassion and empathy towards animal being. Apart from these things, Ratan Tata contribution to business, no doubt there is a huge contributions. There are even many other things. Ratan Tata always had good things, always good things about how to contribute the society, how to bring improvements in the society. He was always compassionate about the society. One thing you can understand majorly, nano car. So in order to, he had a dream of every Indian, even poor or rich, it doesn't matter. Everyone should have car on their own. So he came up with nano model. Later it had become a issue. However, that kind of thought process, present area and present days, we can miss from many of the business leaders. If you see, there are many such YouTube channels where many of the people claim, though some people have hundred billions of property in their name, but 100 billions of property has been given back to society by Ratan Tata as a gesture towards society. These things lie in line with Gandhian trusteeship model. Mahatma Gandhi always proposed the of the individual is to serve the society. Wealth of the individual is to help the society. Ratan Tata, even their predecessors, even Tata family, they lived by the example. They understood society is integral part of our life. If our surrounding is good, then our society also grows in great manner. So these values we can learn a lot from Ratan Tata and Tata family. They provided a lot of values about livelihood, even healthcare also, cancer treatment area. Tata groups have done many other works, nutrition, education, skilling, agriculture, startups, digital transformation, women empowerment, women welfare, social justice, even environmental arena also. There are almost 2% of profits that had been spent under corporate social responsibility by Tata Group every time. There were histories wherein several business activities also had been taken by Tata Group. They acquired major companies such as Chorus, Jaguar, even they have production units all over worldwide. Even the present day growing startups such as Ola, Paytm, First Cry, they have been promoted by Tata Group in order to bring a society in good terms. Even there are certain values, humility, simplicity, responsibility. They are the values Ratan Tata has, and then he has left indelible link on the people wherein we can follow for generations, we can attain them, those kind of values. This is the article about. Next article we will discuss about recently Nobel Prize in economics. This has been went to Acemoglu, Johnson and Robinson. Why economics? Why we are discussing? This article basically traces about colonial history. Why India was before colonial invasion, India was world richest country. After British invasion, India became one of the poorest countries in the world. Now, though we are developing country in the present arena. So, why these kind of things happened? They did research, Acemoglu, Johnson and Robinson, and they understood things in greater detail. We will discuss this article in detail. This article has been taken from FinShots. No doubt, India was one of the richest countries in the world until 18th century. Why? Because India is a favorable geographical location, because we are surrounded by Indian Ocean and there is a easy transportation, and it became a major important player in global trade. We have exported spices, silk, mineral across length and breadth of the world map. Even industrial production is also higher than US at that time. But after that, everything changed. European came, 1498, Vasco da Gama came into India. Then Indian conditions gradually started deteriorating. Indian colonizers, especially British, they gradually took control of the country. They exploited India's resources, even people and labor also. If see, today, After 77 years of independence, the tables have turned. India no longer richer than United States of America, but we are growing fast. Our global manufacturing output, it is less than 20% of the United States of America. But here is the one thing you need to understand. Europeans, they colonized United States of America also. But why did US become so rich? However, we still lagged behind the path. Why these things happen? Almost Europe colonized 80% of the world at one point of time. Even people used to say the country where sun never sets. But why United States of America and many such countries, even Australia also, they have grown up. But India, Mexico, such kind of countries even still relying in poverty, even in developing status only. That is why exactly Nobel laureates Dr. Darren Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, James Robinson, they had find out. They spent years of researching and publishing papers, even books, on how colonial rulers they have set up institution, how they shaped, and these kind of institutions shaped the wealth of the nations. This kind of story is very fascinating and very interesting to understand. The richest 20% of the countries today, they are 30 times wealthier than poorest 20%. So by this fact, you can understand how richer, richer countries are becoming more rich and poorer are becoming poor. But you can ask why these things have happened at first place. According to one of the observations in the city of Nogales, basically Nogales is a city that lies in the border of United States of America and Mexico. If you see in the world map, United States of America, Mexico, they are the bordering countries. This Nogales city, northern half is in Arizona state, United States of America, southern part is in Sonora in Mexico. If you stand at the border and look at this Nogales city, you can understand southern part obviously very poor, but northern part is very rich. This is very odd to understand. Why? Because the same city Nogales, some part in United States of America, some part in Mexico. Though people have the similar kind of interest, they follow same culture, and then both the locations are geographically same. But even they listen same music also. But why these things are happened? United States of America, obviously, they felt secure, they prospered in such way. Their property, their investment, they have been protected by laws, and then they can cast vote in order to remove politicians they don't like. So people became wealthier, they lived longer, they have access to better educational opportunities. Exactly, quite opposite happens in Mexico. There is a huge crime and corruption that makes very hard to start any business or anything you can want to start and succeed. Even now Mexico is under democracy, but there are corrupt politicians which makes the process still very challenging. This can be traced back to European colonial rulers, how they have sowed the seeds of governance. Now you might be thinking why this might be connected to governance and then European colonizers. Basically, we need to understand that's what the Nobel laureates explain. First, if you understand the motivations behind the colonizers in setting up of this political and economic system, wherever they have ruled, they didn't treat all the colonies as the same. Suppose say countries such as India, Brazil, Mexico, even many parts of the Africa wherein large population was there, higher protest or even resistance was there in order to take control of these people. But once British took control of them, they exploited this large population for cheap labor and resources. There was plenty of labor already. Even few European settlers moved to these places also in order to live in these areas. They have set up the system. They have basically those system you can call extractive system. That means they are the system just to extract them without giving anything. They benefited colonizers at the expense of these local population. Even after independence, it was very costly for the new governments in order to overhaul these exploitative systems. But these kind of systems continued because there was a huge poverty in these areas. But if you see in countries such as Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United States of America, Hong Kong, and Singapore, basically they had smaller populations. European, they moved into area, they settled in this area. There were labor shortages were there. European basically started moving from European countries to these area. So basically, obviously, they demanded better opportunities for them. They demanded good facilities for them. They demanded rights, where populations are very high, such as India, Mexico, Brazil, even Africa. These kind of country they used to face a lot of diseases also, and then those who are coming out from outside, because of their immunity levels are very low, they used to face frequent diseases also. There were diseases such as malaria and cholera. They used to spread out in countries, and then local people didn't have immunity for these kind of things, and then local people developed immunity for these things, wherein outsiders it is very tough for them. One example author states, if you see the army whoever residing in the British regime, if you see local Indian troops, there were 12 deaths for 1000 soldiers in every year, but there were almost 70 to 170 deaths per 1000 soldiers. So you can understand, so Britishers were very indifferent to settling there. They just wanted to exploit resources from these regions, so they didn't settle. They put harsh conditions. Even they put a lot of the convicts from different areas, suppose say Andaman and Nicobar, wherein they felt safe area where they can better guide them. But wherein Australia, United States of America, even those areas basically they settled there. They demanded political rights similar to those in England. Being a British citizens, they demanded better rights. They understood the process. So that's how the process gone in. By 1840 or 1850, they started asking infrastructure in Australia, Canada, and United States of America. They wanted constitutional changes. They understood their rights, and then they demanded governments to be set up in their name, and many such benefits happened. But where in India those kind of issues didn't happen, and we followed with the same rules, and we are still living in the colonial area set up institutions. Now you can ask, why can't we change now? Basically, the political parties in present day, they are tough to change. Even sometimes they feel that if they change the present institution, they may feel backlash, and then their institutions may go down. This kind of commitment problem is there from Indian politicians and politicians across worldwide also. So you can understand basically. So with these learnings they have put up, and then the Nobel Prize has been brought up. But these kind of exploitative system, they left a deep scar on the system, and then today we are relentlessly pursuing those institutions in greater manner. So this is the article about. We discussed 3 articles today. Thank you very much for discussion.